everyone. This video is going to be part of a series. This is part 1 of the Apex Skeleton build. I actually got started working on this already, and I wasn't going to make a video of it till I finished. But seeing I was running into all these little things, I figured I'd make a video about it and let people know. I did see some completed builds. I think Kikuru put up a video, and I think in Daz mode, no one's really done a video of it with a full custom loop outside of Kikuru. But I watched the video. I don't think they addressed some of the things. So first of all, the difference between the base version, which I have here, and the Pro version is that the Pro version has the GPU vertical bracket and the distro piece over here. So if you don't buy the Pro version, you're going to pretty much get what you see in front of you, right? I've actually added stuff to this case already. I did take off the rear fan bracket, which is something I'm not going to use, but I will go into that. So by default, this support bracket at the bottom is not included. I made that. That's to help the PSU stay in place, because otherwise the PSU will sag. All right. And additionally, I've also made a PSU cover that kind of is magnetically attached. So you see it like that. So obviously these parts need painting and they need post-processing, but we'll get into the theme and so forth. Aside from that, everything about this case is really just carbon fiber rods with cut carbon fiber plates to make the radiator mounts. You got one 360 on the top, one 360 in the front, and that pretty much sums up the radiator support. If you wanted to mount a 120 to the rear, you can. I don't see why you would want to. But in terms of accessories, it's kind of not much. And I'll show you guys what the accessories are now. So here's the accessory box. Inside you will find that there's some additional clamps. These are not going to be the machined clamps that's on the rest of the board itself. Rest of the case. These clamps are plastic. These are the ones that do the wire management in the rear, which I'm going to show you guys in a second. I removed these for one very obvious reason, which I'm going to go into. And these are some extra screws. And you get some extra washers for the screws. And you get some extra wire management clamps. These are just kind of standard items. They're not, they're not too special. Then you get some additional rubber padding for the bottom. Because otherwise, the aluminum is anodized aluminum. It will scratch a soft surface. And you get one stop fitting. And you also get some rails. This is to mount like a reservoir or something like that. The way it works is, I'll show you guys in a second here. I don't know if they machined these in-house. I almost feel like this is an in-house ordered part or machine part, because it's I don't think anywhere really sells you something like this, right? And so the way this works is every single it's pretty much tubes and clamps, right? So let me just pivot the camera up. Because this case is mostly bars and clamps, right? As you can tell, everything's just clamped into a bar. When you look at the radiator mount, or not radiator mount, I mean the reservoir mount, you're going to be doing the same thing, right? You're going to be clamping it together like so, screwing it in, and that creates a clamp. Now, I've found that it actually can still slide even when you screw it all the way in. Even though they've added these felt pads inside, you may want to look into small silicone pads to tap in there so it doesn't move so much. You don't get extras of these clamps even without the rail. So if you wanted to mount something, like I was going to make my own distro, right? So there's no way for me to mount it because that mounting hardware only comes with the the Pro version. So in that event, I have to make my own clamps, right? So this is a 3D printed one. If it looks identical, I've added the screw. Obviously, this is going to slide. So what I'm doing is I'm adding some silicone padding inside, and I put on there, and it's just not going to move anymore, right? So that's how I'm getting around the lack of clamp situation. What else? For those that don't know, the case only supports one SSD drive at the bottom. So this is the one and only SSD mount, which isn't very helpful. And also because of its positioning, running wires to it, you have to use those clamps. It's just going to look messy. So I don't suggest you use any SSDs at all with this case. So even though this case is 600 or 1,000, depending, wait, I think it's 600 or 1,100, something like that, depending on which version you buy, right? The Pro is like 11. You really do going to want to use NVMEs only. But the carbon fiber is nice. I mean, you can see that it is real carbon fiber. It's not fake. Even the radiator mounts are carbon fiber. So like I was saying, it is real carbon fiber. This is just carbon fiber sheet that's been cut. Carbon fiber sheet is actually pretty cheap. The only thing is you could probably add more panels yourself. The only problem is when you're cutting carbon fiber, the dust is kind of really dangerous. So you're gonna have to wear gloves, you know, don't get it on your skin, definitely don't get it in your eyes. So it's a bit tricky to cut for most folks without a dedicated workspace. So that's the harder part. But if you wanted to add custom carbon fiber panels, you can get carbon fiber panels on Amazon for like real cheap. I'll put some links. But let's just go back to one more thing on the rear of the case, and I'm going to talk about some of the design concepts that I'm doing for this case. Okay, so right here, earlier what I was talking about was these wire management clips that I removed. There's a cover. I took it off. Show you guys what it looks like in a second. But these wire management clips, there's 2 of them, and they screw in here. Right, they come here, you can see the 2 slots, and the screw comes in from the other side. But the problem is that they didn't use countersunk screws. They used button head screws. So if you have a motherboard with a back plate, you can't get the board in. So that's kind of an oversight, right? So because this is only, I think this is 3mm or 4mm aluminum plate, you know, it's kind of hard to actually countersunk if you want to use an M4. I think they use M4s for everything. So if they use a smaller thread, they kind of countersunk that, and you would be flat on the other side, and you won't have this problem. I mean, these 2, honestly, as clips, probably weren't extremely helpful anyway. So I'm going to have to figure out my own solution, which is fine. For those of you that are into modding, this plate is just a flat piece with gaps. Cut out, obviously, so you could definitely make your own, so don't feel restricted. These grommets are definitely for ATX. If you use EATX, they will cover the grommets, and you'll have to wrap the wires around over here. That will be a little bit difficult for EATX boards that everyone makes with 90 degrees, right? Because they have 90-degree, they have the flat 24-pin facing this way. So this is not the most EATX friendly board. Not saying you can't do it. It's just, it is what it is. So, oh yeah, you also do get 2 pieces of glass, which obviously I took off. They're dark tinted, so don't expect to see inside the case. Just want to show you guys real quick the rear cover. This is the rear cover of the case, right? This comes on like this. It just says OC on it, and that's pretty much also a solid aluminum piece. But yeah, so that's pretty much the case. So you can see it's actually, skeleton is very skeleton, right? So I'm going to quickly go into here what I'm going to be trying to do here. So I've added some more parts inside the case so you guys can get an idea of how it looks with a little bit more componentry. The vertical bracket I'm using is not the standard one that comes with the case if you bought the Pro version. I'm using something as an alternative. As I mentioned previously, I have the basic version of the case. I've also added 45mm Alphacool radiators. These are the new HPEs. But I obviously will not be keeping them white. They will be powder coated. We'll go into that in a second. I'm also going to have to create something for the front, right over here. I'm also creating something for the top. I'm going to try to do something. I'm doing the headlight thing, like I was saying, for the taillight thing for the rear. This is automotive, and actually what's going to be driving the theme is actually this right here. This is the Huracan STO. I'm going to try to incorporate the colors as well as some of the visual cues from this vehicle. Obviously, this is a car shape. This is a square, right? So we can have some similarities and some kind of throw-tos, but it's going to be hard to kind of make it look like that, obviously. I'm not a big theme person, but I will try to make it look somewhat auto-inspired. So there are some things I am considering. Like I said, along with the colors, I was actually going to use all carbon fiber tubing as well. This is 16mm carbon fiber tubing. This stuff is like any other. This is not fake. This is real carbon fiber. Like any other carbon fiber parts, whether it be a plate or whatever you're cutting, you don't want to get this dust on your skin. You don't want to get the dust in your eye, and definitely don't want to breathe it in. Right. So there's some warnings about that. So far, I've only made the PSU cover, the magnetic one that I was showing off. It still needs some work. It's a prototype, but you can see it's completely magnetic. Additionally, I am going to be trying to use, here we go. So for the top portion, I was going to go customing aluminum, but I might go with fluorescent acrylic. This orange fluorescent to acrylic. You can see it actually lights up really well the moment light hits it. It's kind of hard to tell on the camera. It just looks overexposed. But in person, it's like glow in the dark almost, but glow in the day. All right. Yeah, so I have to really come up with stuff to add on to it. I'm going to be trying to replicate the skirts on this vehicle, the skirts all the way across. But I don't know the feasibility of adding something like that and having it survive shipping. Because once the other stuff gets on, like the custom reservoir I'm going to be making here that needs to bolt on. And also, for those of you that watched my Lian Li 011 build, and you're wondering why I did that brake caliper, well, that brake caliper was kind of a prototype for this. All right, so we're gonna have that brake caliper distro here. I'm trying to make it fancier than the last one. I thought I would have room to fully print one that's like 16mm thick with the distro inside like a brake pad, but as you can tell, I'm not going to be able to, so I'm gonna hit that radiator. That's not something I anticipated, but like I said, so there's a lot of work to be done, a lot of things to be made. This is part 1 of the series. By part 2, I'll probably have some stuff powder coated. I'll probably have some more stuff being made. This has to be done by, I would say, at least, oh boy, probably early December. So I don't have much time, but we'll see what we can do. All right, thanks for watching. Stay safe and stay tuned for part 2.